So before you create a unit to go against any attempt of coup d'etat, put your house in order, stop lying to your electorate, stop lying to your citizens, stop looting the resources of your country, stop corruption in your country, and then you can talk about anti-coup d'etat.
The African Union, AU, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, are to be blamed for the recent rise in coups in African countries because of their failure to condemn recurrent corrupt elections on the continent. The African Union, AU, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, had failed to recognize that elections had been brought to disrepute in Africa. This had made Africans to see coups as a means to get rid of leaders who rigged themselves into power. The ECOWAS has a good governance protocol. The AU has the Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance. All of those have standards on governance. But the first thing is that they do have standards on elections. Democratic elections are supposed to be the fundamental basis for the legitimacy of government. The treaty that establishes the AU says that the Union will condemn unconstitutional changes in government, but they define unconstitutional changes in government only as the overthrow by the military of a government that claims legitimacy, or the overthrow of the government by mercenaries. What they have not done is to recognize that elections have been brought into disrepute in Africa by the heads of states themselves. Increasingly, elections are becoming laughable processes by which authoritarian regimes and dictators procure their own continuance in power. Many of the outcomes of elections don't reflect the will of the people, and when they happen, the AU, ECOWAS, and other bodies will sign off on them as okay. People have become scandalized as a result. Because the regional economic communities have failed to condemn the bastardization of elections, the people have made their own choices, saying, if you are not going to condemn elections, then don't disturb us if and when we get rid of these people by any means necessary. Since its creation of African Union in 1966, the organization has continued to provide a cover of democratic legitimacy for despotic African leaders. Many among the recently deposed African heads of state held major positions in the AU at the peak of their atrocities back home. For example, Guinea's Alpha Condé was elected as the AU chair in 2017 in the midst of accusations of human rights violations and the public outcry for economic and security reforms. Also, Ibrahim Keita was appointed to lead the AU's Arts, Culture and Heritage Initiative in 2019 while facing similar problems in Mali, and Roj Kabore's appointment as the AU champion on eliminating female genital mutilation in 2019 came as his government wallowed in multiple murders and kidnapping accusations. The occupation of these AU positions, even as some of them may not immediately convey political benefits, going by their titles, signifies two political gains for the concerned African leaders. The first is that these appointments express an acceptance of the leadership of the African leaders by the AU. The second is that the occupation of such positions legitimizes the leaders before the world and silences the importance of whatever political, economic, or leadership problems engulfing their countries. If the AU continues to legitimize African leaders with questionable policies and actions, it will only prevent itself from having the will to sanction such leaders should their actions become overbearing or criminal. To address this issue, the AU must establish a framework for dealing with despots who have clearly lost popular support. Grounds for this framework already exist in the AU's African Charter on Human and People's Rights. Articles 6 and 7 of the Charter, respectively, provides that member states recognize their people's rights to security and to freely express grievances to state organs. Articles 10 and 11 strengthen these provisions to include the right to association. As such, one may suggest that should the leader of a member state face credible allegations or charges in violation of these articles, they should get a tentative suspension from holding any position within the AU. And if found guilty by a competent court of law, the AU must provide statements of condemnation and impose strong sanctions on such leaders. These are responses that should not only emerge from the AU against coup leaders, as recently seen in Sudan, Mali, and Guinea, but must be enforced whenever an African leader, democratically elected or not, grossly violates the AU Charter. If you found this video enlightening, Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Until next time, cheers. Have a good one.